5, 4, 3, 2.
If you wondered about running your code in WebAssembly, well, what WebAssembly allows you to do is run binary encoded information, basically like compiled code in your browser. And this week, we're exploring the strange world of WebAssembly and what that means for running Linux, running Node, maybe running MeteorJS inside this space. What does that mean? What's the impact of it? Does it make sense to do it? Can you do it? All these things we're going to explore, plus the news. And I think Jan is going to be talking about our misadventures with broadcasting last week. So in any case, I'm a little all over the place here. This is episode 105 of This Week in MeteorJS, a weekly newscast of the MeteorJS Dispatches podcast. My name is Alim Gafar. I am broadcasting to you live from New York City. And hey, where's Jan?
There we go. Hello, everybody. Getting back into, again, managing the streams and all that stuff. I'm Jan Dvorak, aka Storyteller CZ, coming to you live from Prague, Czechia.
And with that, we'll get right to the news.
Yes, let me find the best way to get this sorted. So let's jump into the news. First things first, kind of talking about what WebAssembly or thing. One big thing is how do you know, especially once you're debugging the browser, where the problem code is coming from? That has been an answer that has been solved, or question that has been solved many years ago. For those older ones, might remember that there has been quite a big issue in the past to add source maps to Meteor into Babel and all the other build tool. And there is this article from Polar Signals, or I would say it's actually even more than an article because it has really shows you step by step how it works, and it's much better than, say, the MDN article on source map. It just tells you, okay, this is the spec, this is just what this means. But this Polar Signals really takes you step by step how the encoding process works, how if you are somehow stuck so in the process, transpiling, bundling, what all these different things mean. So what it in essence source maps do is they take when you have a production bundle or a developer bundle, and it's the bundle.min.js, and you have semicolon 1 semicolon 27698. It then takes that, and thanks to the source map, it tracks that of where that actually originated. So you can then, for example, if it's well formatted, you can actually click, and in the browser development tools, you can see the exact code that it refers to in your source. So that's why we love source maps. Yeah. They can kind of get around the minification and all that stuff. And this article really goes into the details of all that stuff. So I highly recommend everybody check that out.
So, Jan,
yes,
does that mean? All right. So I'm a little confused. So let me see what the story is here. So when we have our source code, when we write our programs, and we're using named variables, named functions, and so on, when we drop it through our build process, our build usually takes those things and changes my really cool function to something like A62F.
Yes.
Right? And I guess the source map keeps track of what that source name was and maps it to the thing that was changed.
Exactly.
Okay.
Plus, with bundling everything, it gets minified, as you said. So you lose all the, all the line numbers and everything. Right, yes. It pretty much becomes one big file. So that's what the source map does. It takes all of that. It says, okay, this this is the source file. It has these variables. This is the source, and here are the mappings of all the different things. So that's in essence what it does. And then, browser then can translate that. So if there is like an error that points to something in the minification, then it then knows, okay, this is the minified location. It then can map that and source maps to the original. So
let me ask you one other question. Like, do source maps typically ship with the production code, or is that like with a debug flag or something?
It's most often with a debug flag and in development. But again, both build tools have that configurable. So that really depends on how you set your project up. In Meteor, by default, you get it in development. Source maps are, of course, included because Meteor does its own development bundling. In production, they should be disabled, but you can also turn them on as well. So that's how it works. And there is also, especially what the polar signals article does, it really goes into how it's encoded and all the other stuff as well, which is, I think, kind of missing the most from the MDN, let's say, documentation. So I recommend it. It's not something that many people think about, but I would highly recommend it so that you have at least a basic understanding of kind of what goes underneath it, especially if you are into problems in the future.
Well, I think that sounds like a really great way to understand how this all works, and looking forward to reading it myself. By the way, if you find that you're getting some value out of this, hit like on the episode. Really appreciate getting that feedback from you, and it gives us motivation to continue making these episodes. All right, with that, I noticed, by the way, that in this article that you just covered, one of the examples is actually using TypeScript. And TypeScript seems to be everywhere. In most of our stories today, I think TypeScript shows up in one form or the other. And in this article, I think that's next. Oh, wait a minute. I just saw a note from Jan P. What was that?
Yes. So Jan P actually has a comment that is very pressing, or kind of what we'll be discussing in the second half of the program. So he's saying, "Hi guys, just came to say goodbye for a time being," and he says, "I'm moving away from web development and getting into Python for AI workflow development."
Okay. All right. Well, it's going to be sad to see him go, but Jan P, I'm also in that space, so maybe we should stay in touch and not say like goodbye for sure. In any case, let me get back to the story. And do we have a slide for that? So yeah, in Octoverse, they mentioned that TypeScript is now the #1 language being used in GitHub. And that's really, GitHub is a really big space, and it is a very meaningful space in software development. And I thought this was a real big turning point because, to be the #1 used language is pretty significant. But then I went to the TOB index, which is the typical index that a lot of people look at for figuring out where languages rank with each other. And right now, the #1 language on the TOB index is Python. TypeScript doesn't quite make it to the top 10. As a matter of fact, it's number 33. But it's interesting to take a look and see where your data is coming from and why it's meaningful. So in the GitHub space, TypeScript is ascendant. Broadly speaking, it's not as popular as, for instance, Python is. So just throwing that out there, not trying to, bring TypeScript down in any way, just trying to give it some context. So there you go.
Yeah, I think we'll cover TypeScript more next week, but all about that just in a minute as well. And I'll kind of give you a preview of what I will be talking about in our topic later on after WebAssembly and all that stuff. Alim, I think it was you who sent me these articles, which I found super interesting. You commented when I was doing my notes that we're afraid it's going to eat the entire show. But I will be referencing this because it was a great article about
Sure.
you need to become a full stack person, which kind of touches a lot on the current, of course, let's say market with AI everywhere and everybody kind of running around like headless chickens. It kind
Yeah.
of goes to AI will not replace a specialized role, and it kind of proposes that you should be building career modes, which is supposed to be a combination of hard to acquire skills and talents that will set you apart in the long-term career, not necessarily like in the company. So it's not like, nobody in the team knows how this works than me. It moves it to nobody in the world does this set of things better than me, or some sort of variation of that. The problem is that, things like that are hard to build just by definition.
Yeah.
And what we've kind of seen with the AI is that, before, there were like entire departments. Departments have shrunk to teams, and teams to individuals, and there have been a lot of role flattening. So you no longer have there's a kind of push of, instead of having, each person like for the different things, then you have like one person that's kind of doing all of that, kind of say like a full stack person. So and the roles become much blurrier. So in a way, it kind of it started mimicking the startup world where one person wears many hats. So that's kind of what you kind of need to work with and build around and against. And he kind of covers different, because it's not just skill set, but also the way of thinking. And he in the article it then covers what the different areas that he thinks are important to know. And when I was talking about thinking, some questions to ask, because it's becoming providing the end value, not necessarily how we kind of get to it, even though that's important. And one last thing on this is that he talks about that the T shape is dead and long live the pie shaped, which T shape means that
wait, what's the difference between the T shape and I know what the shapes look like, but what do they represent?
So T-shape, they used to mean to have like one deep spike plus thin layer of everything else, so that you can you prioritize yourself in one area where you become super expert, and you can have like general understanding of everything else. While pie shape, he defines two deep spikes sitting on a broad base. So broad base meaning cross-domain fluency. You can speak front-end, back-end, design, and deliver well enough to make decisions and ship. I think that should be underlined. And then you have, spike one, which is kind of product sense. You have taste and judgment. So you can, if AI what AI tools to use, if AI, brings you some results, what will you, kind of have like, okay, this looks bad, we need to do something else, or this is good enough, we can, move on this and build on this. And then spike two, engineering craft. So to the skill to kind of take it from the design to the real safety, simplicity under production constraints. So that's kind of very broadly, it goes much more in depth. There's a lot of interesting things there that I will probably touch on later, but it kind of brings it back to if you remember, talk multiple times probably, that we don't, we need not necessarily like generalists, but people who have more broader scope and can kind of see the bigger picture. So that's why I really like this article. One thing he referenced for AI, and this was something actually that's also on Meteor forum, which I found interesting, is SpecKit, which is about how you should kind of write for AI the specifications, so that, because with AI it's whatever you put in, that's the quality of output you are going to get. So, and kind of opposed to that was another article, which is a full stack developer is a myth from Adam. And I think what it really touches on is that I've seen it because I've been kind of looking around. If you kind of shop around today with job roles, when you kind of go to full stack, it's, you want to know, you need React, Vue, Angular, Node.js, Python, Django, Ruby on Rails, Postgres, MongoDB, Redis, AWS, Azure, CI, CD, and all that stuff. It's like, we want a superhero that knows absolutely everything. Which, and by the way, the technology that was invented 3 years ago, we want for you to have 10 years of experience.
That has been something that's been going on for a long time. In 1995, one of my colleagues, my friend Garrett, and I were sitting down in our office looking at job descriptions. And back then, Java just came out. And they were asking for people with, and we were playing with it a little bit. We, weren't very good with it, but we were playing with it. And then we were looking for jobs that were out there. And it's the same thing. Java had been out for maybe 2 or 3 years, right? That was it. But they were asking for somebody that had like deep experience with it for the last 6, 7 years. And the only people that would have that experience are the people that built it. But, but they weren't asking from that point of view. It was, you could tell it was just, that this was some recruiter that decided to write this thing. And it was absurd. It was absurd. So this absurdity seems to be continuing even today.
And I would say even more because of AI, it has become even more. And of course, the truth is that, to master everything across the stack is a myth unless you completely devote your life and every breathing moment to do it, which there are a few people like that. But I think for ourselves, we kind of want to have some life, maybe go and, hang out with some people, unless you're like me and then just keep on coding on stuff and then starts talking to inanimate objects. So that can also happen. But this is the just quickly. This is kind of what the article is kind of about, and it kind of goes all similar, a little bit back to the previous article a bit as well. That you kind of need to focus. It kind of goes not entirely there because it says that you should be a T-shaped developer, so just have like one expertise that you are good, and that we should reject this full stack label. While I kind of agree in that, but I think the previous one where you kind of need to really have a more holistic approach is better without killing yourself.
It's interesting to see both sides of the argument, right? I mean, they both make good points.
So that's kind of on that. I think we'll expand on that in just a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I see you have a quote here, or I don't know if it's a quote, but it says true mastery of an entire stack is not just difficult, it's mathematically impossible. So that's an interesting thing.
Well, I think, if you limit it and be like, very specific, which is the problem that like with a lot of things that are overused, the term loses its meaning. If you just, put more and more stuff, or it means different things for different people. So, and even if it has like official definition, if it's used, could say freely to mean whatever else, then it doesn't really matter. And I think kind of one of the people who kind of fall more into the full stack developer is Laurie from Weekend. And he wrote here very, very nicely, I am the myth, the legend, the full stack developer.
That's awesome. And Laurie's somebody we should get back onto the show sometime soon. I miss Laurie.
Let's ask him about being a full stack developer.
Absolutely. And anything else that he's doing here. I think we've had so many other things that have been going on lately that that he's also had his hand in, that we would love to get his feedback on, and also find out what's happening with Weekend, right? It'd be kind of cool to see what's happening with Weekend these days. Does he want to run it in WebAssembly? I'm sorry. it's things seem to be getting more and more ridiculous. I don't know whether or not these things are science projects or if they're real, but there's a story recently that I ran into about someone, I think his name is, let me see if I can find this. His name is Joel Severin, and he ported the Linux kernel to WebAssembly. And so it's not entirely stable. He says that he's been able to get it up on in WebAssembly and run a shell. They're running some basic programs, but there are some major stability issues, and it's easy to crash it. However, and this was done, I think, in the Google Chrome browser. It's really cool that you could do a lot of things, right? But putting an entire operating system, well, at least the kernel of the operating system, into WebAssembly, to what end is that? And I was wondering, what does that mean? Does that mean that you could port the Node.js to WebAssembly? And it turns out that somebody has, right? There is a Hako, for instance, has been ported to WebAssembly, and Hako is an embeddable JavaScript engine that compiles down to WebAssembly. It's built on a fork of Quick.js, and I'm reading notes here because a lot of this is just like mind-boggling to me, and I know I'm going to get it wrong if I try to just remember it and say it. It provides a secure, lightweight runtime for executing modern JavaScript. It has ES23 2023 plus support, Phase 4 TC39 proposal support. It supports top-level await, and it also has built-in TypeScript type stripping. It compiles down to a single module that's 800K in size and can be embedded in any application with a runtime, with a WebAssembly runtime. It runs in Sandbox. This to me is incredible, and I think this is one of those things that you want to try to play with. But then it makes me wonder, does that mean that you could run an entire MeteorJS app also in, with a Hako runtime in WebAssembly? But you and I, when I brought this up, you and I are like, well, what's the point though, right? Because when you have a multi-user application and you're running things in a sandbox, how do you communicate across those sandboxes? How do you persist data? There's just so much in terms of state management, in terms of being able to distribute, the changes that are happening in each browser. Like, how do you coordinate that? Do you coordinate it? Do you care at that point? Like, what does this mean? So, to me, it seems like well, let me just say that to me it seems like a really interesting science project, but I'm not sure what the practical benefit is, especially when you're talking about the benefits of using MeteorJS.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me, because we have a lot of that with Chrome or Chromium, and with Electron as well, constantly embedding, and so there was this, somebody can also wrote like an operating system that was running in Chromium, and that was running inside another Chromium, and inside that Chromium operating system you had also the Chrome browser, which is a Chromium, and Electron and all that stuff. So there is you can do a lot of these things, and you kind of see it, and that's thanks to these different encapsulation, which allows you to run we are running different things across different platforms very easily. So that's how it became popular. But then at some point, you have to really analyze, and it kind of goes back to the article I was talking about previously.
Yep.
Analyze what you really need. Is that going to make your life easier, or is this just making things more complex and problematic? And I think kind of the rule of thumb is always make it simple. Don't try to be fancy. That's usually always going to bite you. So being very, very careful about that. So, but who knows, maybe something interesting might come out of it as a side effect.
I just wonder, I mean, there are plenty of times that people build use MeteorJS, right? Just because it's a fast platform to build applications on, and maybe you have, you know, a single person application, so you don't really care about, you know, the distributed nature of how it runs. But I wonder in that case, like, what's the experience that you would have running an application like MeteorJS in a WebAssembly container, if you want to call it that, right, or a sandbox. You know, what would be the load time? What would be, you know, it puts a burden on your browser, doesn't it? It basically takes the entire burden of running that server-side code and just dropping it into your browser. I'm not sure that that's necessarily going to be a good experience for the user either. So,
well,
but
that's an interesting question, you know, depending on how it's being used, because with this, with WASM, what one of the big things is that you know, you can just be like in your JavaScript environment and load this, say, you know, C++ code, and, you know, kind of communicate with it through regular JavaScript, and it kind of does its things in its own sandbox. So it you know, there are benefits, especially, for example, of anything you know, when it comes to graphics or you know, 3D or more advanced computation, that, you know, can kind of put into this WebAssembly and you know, have it like in, you know, C++ or something that's more performance towards this. It's a bit different, you know, once you actually then start put it into the browser. That's where things I'd say get a little bit trickier, because I think it really depends on, I think there's like multiple ways how you can operate it, but there's one of them is that it kind of takes it and I think either runs it as a binary, or it maybe even kind of moves it to JavaScript. So
interesting.
It's very very powerful for very specific use cases, which I did not ever need or experience. So I cannot speak from experience of actually running it. So, but it's there. It's like, you know, one of the powerful tools in the tool belt if necessary.
Well, I think I need to get off the just reading about it and give WASM a try, right? And the thing is, I'm always trying to figure out, like, well, what would I use it for? And it's funny that somebody said, oh, let me compile in the Linux kernel and then let me run a shell on it. And it just seems to be like so absurd, right? The idea of like taking, I think of an operating system as sort of the universe that you work in, and putting that universe, like, you know, containing another universe in a universe, is just a little bit of a mind boggle thing to me. So I think, go ahead.
I think it's really you know, finding the use case, and that's is important. But sometimes, like, even experiments like these, you know, if it's just, you know, kind of presented, okay, this is an experiment, can become useful in the long run, as, you know, kind of finding weak spots in you know, different implementation, or just showing that it can be done, and when, you know, later on the need for it comes, then you already have some use case that you can reference.
I'm still trying to figure out of an example that makes sense to me. So, you know, having gone that big, it's like, okay. So but I think what I'm going to do is I'm sure there's example code that I can start working with and play with and give it a shot, and just kind of maybe the proper imagination will work properly when I've done some example work. I don't know yet. I don't have a use case for it, but maybe one will come up. But certainly the idea of like running an entire operating system, running Node, running MeteorJS, just seems to be extreme. By the way, you don't have to agree with anything I say. And actually, I would love it if you have a comment on this that helps me understand better the benefits of using WebAssembly with your code, and why maybe even building a MeteorJS application in WebAssembly could make sense. If you have an opinion, if you have a thought, drop in the comments. We read them and we will respond to them. And by the way, if you've been here and you're enjoying this and you have hit like, then also consider subscribing. And you hit the subscribe button. There's a little bell button next to it to notify. It'll let you know when we have a new episode coming in. I think we have to do a little better job, Jan. I know both of us have been burnt out for a while, but we have to, I think, get back on a schedule for new episodes. So that would help everybody. But hitting that subscribe and notify will also be good for you, because when we're not on a weekly schedule, then you'll get the notification when we actually have an episode coming up. All right. And so Storyteller, what do we got with the Meteor news?
So we have kind of two short updates. First of all, Meteor 3.4 development has moved to beta 14, which incorporates a lot of the other submissions from the community, including some of mine. So mostly, or in case for the mines, shameless plug, I've provided, or the two ones that I'm kind of looking for to see what people say, update to the accounts UI styling. So which allows you also now to use CSS variables to change it. And also the error page when the server crashes will now look nice, or at least more nicely, and will provide you links to documentation and a few other things. So bit of a uplift from my side there. And then our friend Kelly has released type model, which is resolved by type safe MongoDB collections for Meteor. So kind of like collection 2, but with Zod. And hopefully we'll have him on next week to talk more about types and type safety again. Seems to be his passion. So in the meantime, homework for you here, everybody. Check out this package and see if that is something of you could say interest for you, especially if you kind of want to kind of learn, or if you already use Zod. This might be very, very interesting.
Can I ask you, why do you need Zod if the JavaScript engine actually, I guess it does its checks? Is it doing more?
So in this case, you probably mean TypeScript, but
I'm sorry. Well, no, but the JavaScript, when it does a transpilation of TypeScript, it does its checks. So
from my understanding, at least like if you use the default in Meteor, then it's like the official node, could say implementation. It is there only for developers, and then it strips out the type when it transpiles into JavaScript. So it actually doesn't do that. That's why we have the check utilities and similar. Plus with Zod, it allows you to kind of go a little bit beyond and do things like, okay, you can have, if you have like a type string, you can then set, what is the maximum, what is the minimum, and similar things. Plus it provides you the other validation utilities that you can then, hook into your system as well. But, hopefully we'll have Kelly next week. Sadly, he wasn't able to this week because he's just too full. So hopefully next week. And so that's we'll hear more from him.
Yeah, all of this, in a sense, to me, violates my own feelings of, ecosystem simplicity. But I'm not taking away from anybody tools that can help them build better products, or write better code. So, but again, I wish there was a way for us to work with less scaffolding, so to speak.
Yeah, that's that's kind of worth thinking. And moving on, kind of to the second half that I have promised, which I call, where to next as full stack developer, because reading those articles and even what we have been kind of talking behind the scenes with Alim and what you might have seen me already going on with Omarchi, I've decided that I'm going to kind of try to expand my horizons and kind of see where things comes and kind of start challenging myself a bit more. Kind of, you could say probably that maybe early midlife crisis or trying to figure out where to next. So I started with Omarchi, promised, and we forgotten last week. There was like the issue that I was twice in the stream, everything, and that was not issue as I would say with Omarchi, but probably somewhere hidden as well. That when I started like with the camera and everything, it was working the preview, but once we went inside the studio, it was just white, and no matter what I tried, it would always work fine in a preview, but in the studio it would just failed. And in the end, I resolved that with having OBS, into which I wired my camera and I shared the screen with the OBS.
So the situation for people that, because there's some hidden stuff here. Over the past couple of years, we've used StreamYard as our streaming service in the past. And if you look at our old episodes, you'll see the little duck head logo that is in one of the corners of our videos. And that's when we weren't paying for streaming service at all. And then last year, I decided to pay for OneStream Live because it allowed me to connect to a lot more destinations, YouTube channels. So we stream not only to the MeteorJS community YouTube channel here, but we also stream to the MeteorJS New York City YouTube channel too. And the idea was that we would probably, grow that network, but we never quite did. In any case, I got OneStream Live, which was also cheaper because StreamYard doubled their price by the time we came on the scene and thought about paying for it. And so I went with OneStream. We've been streaming from that, and that's what we've been using for the past year. However, when Storyteller decided to install Omarchi, OneStream Live vomited. It didn't like it. but one of the things that happened behind the scenes also is that Storyteller stuck with StreamYard. As a matter of fact, StreamYard came back and gave some amazing discounts during Black Friday last year, which made it much more affordable. And so you've been using StreamYard all this time. And today we're back streaming on StreamYard on your account.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah.
I have a renewal coming up, which I'll have to consider if I'll go for it, given the price. But I think they've really added a lot of feature to let's just say justify the price more. So it will be tough consideration. Like all of my subscriptions, since I started buying them, of course, on Black Fridays, Cyber Mondays are coming up for renewal. So I have to like really look hard what I'm going to keep, what I'm going to drop. So that's something that I'll have to look, very closely and figure out. It definitely won't be an easy thing
for me. The likelihood is I'm going to be dropping OneStream Live as a paid service. It's just very glitchy. There were things they promised, like co-host rights elevation, that never showed up, and then they were really not very good in terms of their customer service. So I'll be moving. I don't know if I'm going to move to StreamYard. StreamYard's really good, but the company behind it is very extractive. They know how to pull money out of you. It's kind of funny. The company that owns StreamYard now owns Meetup, and it just recently bought AOL. So, and it's kind of like a tiny company, like tiny capital, but it's not quite. And they are in, I think they're Italian, the company that owns all these assets now. So it really is kind of interesting to see how this is. I think it's really cool that it's not an American company that is doing these tech acquisitions and then building out these businesses even further with it. I think it's cool to see that. So we're going to see how it goes, but it does mean it's a little more expensive. Sometimes a lot more expensive, because I think they doubled the price on the basic accounts, or just all of the accounts initially for StreamYard at the end of last year. Just, it made people's eyes go wild. But I'm going to try Riverside FM, which is a podcasting tool that also has a streaming capability. So I'm waiting for a good discount to come in for that. It's not unreasonably priced, but I would like a better price. And if I can get something Black Friday, I'm going to switch over to that, and we're going to see what that looks like next year. So, oh wait, what was it that did you already post this from Lori?
No, not yet, but it's
weekend BBS dial-up.
Yeah, it started as when you mentioned AOL, it was can Meteor run at AOL? So
yeah. So we're there's stuff that happens to make this work. I think you have a far more complex setup with OBS. You've been working with OBS for years, so
yeah, I haven't really been using OBS lately because StreamYard is just ready to go. But in theory, it should be possible to do everything that StreamYard is doing in OBS.
Yeah.
The question is, do I want to spend the time to actually kind of wiggle with it and run? It will and that's what I will be kind of determining, because I'll be looking. Okay, will I be having guests? Will I be doing streams complex as these, where StreamYard is just much more straightforward, and with OBS I would have to look at how do I set up so that we have to maybe call through Zoom or something, and I would have then to get that into OBS. So I'm not sure if I want that hassle, and so I'll have to consider that.
Well, also there are a couple of things, right? The processing happens on their server. With OBS, all the video processing happens on your server, so you're taking on that. And then of course, when guests come in and then you're streaming to multiple destinations, that's happening on their wire, on their pipe, right? And if you were going to do that, if you're going to multiplex out, then that's going to be based on whatever fractional capacity you can send it out to, and then the quality will be reflected there. So there's some benefits, I think, for using these streaming services, but at the same time, the level of control running OBS is, I think, much more fine-grained. Yes.
Yeah, that's well, I think especially when it comes with the bandwidth, it's definitely will take much more to kind of push up the stream. Plus, if you have people calling in, that will take it on. So a lot of questions. I will have to kind of play around with OBS and kind of maybe it will be easier than I think. So a lot of question. And speaking of question, with Omar Chi, I've kind of started the trend of trying out new things.
Yeah. And
I'm kind of looking to shift gears a bit in my life as well. And I'm starting to look, what next, should I be learning, what I should be focusing on. I think it's undeniable that AI has changed the game, and we need to kind of change with it as well. Jan P mentioned or said that will be learning Python and going into the AI pipelines and everything. And that's definitely something that I'm considering as well. But at the same time, I kind of want to build on top of what I already do. So I think I will be first kind of looking into getting outside of my Meteor bubble by, right now I have on my radar 10-stack start. We'll be doing a release soon. So I'll be looking into kind of learning that, and then there is also Solid version 2 that will be coming up. So once that drops, I will be looking into that and learning Solid as well. So that's kind of the first two that I have decided on, and then I'm looking potentially for technologies or what else that could land me employment in Japan. But since I don't do well in corporate sector, I'm looking for technologies that are more kind of geared towards the startups, or also culturally that are like more Japanese. So I kind of get more into the head of, you could say, Japanese developer and how they approach things.
So you're not going to be learning Fortran, huh?
Well,
COBOL.
It's also like an interesting consideration, because that is something that that has a lack of developers, and pay is pretty good. At the same time, it's massive corporations that use it. But if you have that skill, then you are pretty much set for a very, very long time. So that's definitely kind of goes into the thinking as well. I kind of want to open this to the audience here as well, to kind of give suggestions or kind of to think about this. It also goes to the article, because and that's why I loved it so much. You need to become a full stack developer. Let me just quickly pull it up here, because one of the big things there in it is it has, let me share that article right here. Kind of has defines the different sections that you need to think of. And what I love about it is then it kind of then goes into each of the sections, and then there is questions to ask. Does the solution feel intuitive and delightful to use? So that's when you're kind of building those stuff, like is the design tasteful, and so on and so forth. So here's in communication, that's the GitHub spec kit. And can I explain my concept in enough detail to avoid assumptions? And I think this goes like even beyond just working with AI when it comes to communication. Which I think one thing that I've kind of learned with prompting AI is how to communicate better. And I think this is not just with AI, but with people kind of providing the necessary details. So I will be using this article kind of as my jumping off point to kind of figure out how to position myself. I don't know what that is going to really look like. Right now I have more questions than answers, so I will be doing that research. And I'm struggling. I'm still not sure, and this is kind of what I would like to hear from people as well about should I stick with say web development, or should I just kind of go into a different field to enhance what I already know about web development. So,
by the way, I want to say that I was making some assumptions about the sort of industrial complex in Japan and legacy code, and there being a need for Fortran and COBOL programmers. I just did a quick search on what top programming languages in Japan are needed, and this is coming from the Google's AI search, which, by the way, could be completely made up, right? So let's just take it with a grain of salt. But they don't mention that anywhere. The number one language that they have is Java for large enterprise scale systems, financial institutions. Python is the next, because there's a lot of machine learning, I guess, they're doing over there also that uses that. And then there's Go. Fourth is JavaScript/TypeScript. Fifth is C#. Sixth is PHP. Seventh is Ruby. And eighth is C and C++. So I think, I had an assumption, which was completely uninformed, right? So don't always take anything that I say without checking yourself too. But I'm glad that I took a look there, because it's kind of interesting to see that that Java is sort of the number one. Do you use Java at all? Program with Java?
No, I've never really gotten into it. My first internship with Constant Contact, they were using back then Java a lot.
Mhm.
and it just, just to get the system running for development, I
Mhm.
had to have like three terminals to run different services, and then one to kind of do some tasks. So
Yeah.
that really kind of cured me of any aspirations to go into Java. But Java makes sense because you have to think Japan historically has been large corporations,
Yeah.
so you will see the corporate, let's say, programming languages very heavily represented there.
Yeah. Well, since they have such a, from the Second World War on, they've gone into their industrialization or reindustrialization, has led to use in robotics and so on, and they were doing that very, very early on an industrial scale. I thought that perhaps there would be a lot more legacy language code that would be there, things written in assembly for whatever that chipset is, or the use of old business languages like COBOL, right?
Yeah, I think
So,
that this might be similar, like with
mhm.
telephone technologies as well. So if you go kind of like,
Yeah.
I think that what might have happened here, they might have maybe completely skipped that generation,
Mm.
and then went to the next things afterwards. So
Yeah.
that's that oftentimes happens, like if you go to Africa or certain parts in Asia, that for example, there's no 3G because they went straight for 4G or 5G.
Right.
And
Right.
so I think that there might have been that skip, and those languages might be like a very, I would say, America and UK centric.
I
But
don't
who knows?
know.
That's like a question. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting.
Be fun to see if anybody in the, who watches this, who has experience over there, could get back to us. I mean, wasn't Sasha Grief in Japan for a while, or is he still there?
No, he is right now in. Well, he was there.
Uh-huh.
I don't think he is there anymore, Sasha.
Okay.
So that's. I've met him twice in Kyoto.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I don't think I will. I don't think he is there
Anymore?
anymore. But I'll have to check with
Yeah.
him at some other point. So yeah, so that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Trying to figure out
Hmm.
where to next. I'm also given the recent changes with the business owner visa in Japan. The original plan I had, kind of going for MBA, no longer kind of
Oh,
works for
okay.
me as much as I would like it to. Uh, so I'm kind of this has been kind of, say, center of my depression, trying to figure out
Shifting
how to,
sands. Yeah.
yes, how to kind of move, what to do next. And this is kind of what's kind of like to hear from Jan P. What was the was it a job requirement,
Yeah.
or what is it? What was kind of the moving force for you to get into Python and all the
Yeah.
AI stuff? Because that's kind of what I'm going through. I'm trying to figure out, what are the next steps? What should I learn getting out of the, let's say, maybe Meteor bubble? But at the same time, when I'm thinking of the things that I will be learning, I kind of also want to have practical skills. So I will be building probably again my
Hmm.
personal homepage, because I've been neglecting that a lot. And I'm also thinking, what can be the technologies that I will be learning? And I would say big part of that would be, how can I connect it already to Literary Universe as well?
Yeah.
So we have message here from Jan Pilgenreuter. I've been dabbling with Java in 2003 to, I would say,
What are
well,
those? Are Essen, right? Like what?
those
What?
are the hard S in German.
Yeah.
I think it might be either typo or
Okay.
maybe just like about 2014 or
I thought
2024.
maybe this was just he went into the future, and it's so far into the future that
when I was considering getting into simulation of social systems. I have MA in sociology. Interesting. So yeah, and that's also kind of like the thing that right now the two big languages, or like the big language with when it comes to data science and AI, is Python.
Yeah.
But TypeScript is also making, because of how AI is being used on the web. So TypeScript is becoming ascendant in that respect. One of the articles from Anthropic was very funny, because they kind of did the examples in TypeScript, but it was clearly obvious that it was written by Python people who just learned TypeScript or JavaScript in general, because they were, for example, with how they with object calling notation, so they were using the brackets and instead of dot notation.
Yeah.
So that was there, and it's like a lot of things I don't want to get into right now. But I think those two languages will really be kind of important in this field. And at the same time, I'll have to kind of want to, going back to the, as mentioned, the taste. I want to kind of go with languages that have a kind of good taste. And Janis finishing up, it's job related. I have been doing agents with LangChain on the side, and that took more and more of my time.
PHP.
Also, I was the only Meteor guy in a PHP company. Yeah,
wow,
that's always sad.
The thing is, because MeteorJS is pretty efficient, right? Like you don't need more than one MeteorJS guy. I'm just teasing. I think it's have you found, Jan P? Have you found that it was a productivity boosting tool for you using MeteorJS? Let's see whether or not it's probably taking a minute or so for it to filter through the camera and then get over to.
Yeah. So that actually, that's I would say was potentially one of the, or like for me, a bit of a trap of Meteor. There's like two things, besides all the usefulness that it gave me, which also is in a way a bit trap, because then I don't really have much of incentives to go and look what else is happening, because I'm kind of happy within my garden. Another thing is that especially a lot of time when I kind of look outside of it, it was like wild west, constantly changing, and I kind of want to focus on delivering products, which I think which what most people in Meteor are today. Just really highly focused on delivering their applications and in their domain, so they are not that active in the open source side, or kind of pushing the framework.
You're working with limited resources to begin with, right? So all right. Well, listen, it's a lot to work with, but Jan, do we have a Literary Universe sponsorship post to put up here? Because this episode's sponsored by Literary Universe, and
let me. Well, we have only like this. Let me change that.
That's okay.
Whoops. No, that's not the screen.
Oh yeah, it says it right there. Yes. Okay. So you want to give it a try. If you have any kind of creative streak in terms of your writing, and you'd like to join a community that is interested in developing and creating your characters, your stories, managing them, building out your world, working on a franchise, it's a good platform for it. Built with MeteorJS. Why don't you give it a try?
And it will remain on MeteorJS unless something horrific happens. If you guys give it a try, let me know. Write me in a message on any of the social media or an email, and I'll be happy to give you full unrestricted access to all the features for some time. So I'll probably have a discount code for you for next time.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, listen, thanks for joining us again. I think we're going to come back next week. I'm not sure right now. So if you hit that notify button, you're going to know for sure if we're back next week, or we're going to be holding for the week after. I think next week is Thanksgiving in New York, so that might be a little challenging for me.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out
Yeah.
to make sure that the holidays and.
But you guys don't need to
work
see
out.
me all the time, right? It's like, you know.
Well, if it's Thanksgivings in America, then I don't think I will be able to get Kelly here as well. So
Oh,
we'll have to figure out. Maybe we'll get some other guest.
yeah.
But one more thing before we kind of go. I will be kind of keeping you up to date, guys, here on what I'll decide to do, because I will be oftentimes probably connecting it back to Meteor, because that's what the universe is written in. And then it will be dispatches on my journey. And Alim, I think you're also kind of going on a journey as well, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Well, we'll walk through that as we get to it. But in any case, guys, listen, have a fantastic holiday if you're in the United States for next week. If we see each other or don't see each other, then I hope you enjoy the time. Thank you for joining us again and being with us all these weeks that we've been doing this. There's 105 episodes so far. It's a long time. It's almost 2 years. Has it been? No, it's been 2 years, right?
Yep.
That we've been doing this.
Over 2 years.
So I think we're going to revisit this format going forward and try to figure out what might be more interesting. So maybe we'll do a survey and ask some questions about, you know, what you guys want to see, what you guys want to hear, what you value, what we can do to make this an even more of a destination for you each week that we come on. And with that, I'm going to say have a great weekend, and thanks for joining us again. Take care.